Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. This is our second part of a two-part interview with Professor Rebecca Balcárcel, author of The Other Half of Happy. If you saw the first part, you know that this part is littered with spoilers. So if you haven't read the book, and then come back. We'll wait. If you've read the book and you want to get in on some dirt that nobody knows because it's exclusive to me, then keep watching. It was a great interview, and God, I loved talking to her. Take a look. Professor Balcárcel, thank you so much for sticking around and doing a deep dive of your book with us. We really so much appreciate it. You didn't have to, but I'm so glad you did because honestly, you know, even though we left off with what your style was at the end of our last interview, I have a few bones to pick with you. You know, I love the book, right?
I know.
Right? But since this is a chat now that is full of spoilers, and I want to make sure that everybody knows that this particular chat is filled with spoilers. If they want the chat that does not have spoilers in it, they have to listen to the previous conversation. Okay, just so we're clear. All right. We're going to be giving away the store. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So how old is Quijana?
Quijana's 12.
Right. And in 317 pages, you kill her maternal grandmother. Sorry.
Yes.
You kill her maternal grandmother. You make the boy that she likes gay.
Yep.
You make it so that she can't communicate with her paternal grandmother.
Yeah.
You make the mean girls hate her. You make her fight with her dad and break the guitar that he used to serenade her mother with.
Woo.
She sells a family heirloom, which is the reason I have a huipil behind me. What are you doing to this poor 12-year-old child? I mean, I led a tortured middle grade existence and I didn't go through all this shit. In 317 pages, what kind of monster are you?
I'm terribly cruel, obviously. But yeah, you have to have tension in a book. And
yeah, you have to have tension, but that's a boatload of tension.
I guess it is, but you know, that's also life. And so many kids go through things even much more, you know, even life-threatening than she's going through. But yes, I do throw everything at her. It's true. I wanted to make her suffer.
And you barely left her standing, right? I mean, at the end, you know, you have her making tortillas. It's like, oh, wow, I can do that. Yay. Let's talk about her boyfriend for a while, or her almost boyfriend, right? So he turns out gay.
Yeah.
Was that necessary for the book, or was it necessary because it was something that you wanted to include?
Well, I think it's experience and reality for lots of young people, but especially it was my reality. That my real...
You know, is it really our fault that we are the best boys out there?
Oh, if she needs a best friend, this is perfect, right? Yeah, right. And she does. She needs a best friend. It's a new school, and she's, you know, this boy is creative and interesting and funny, and yeah, the perfect friend for Quijana. She needs a little bit of that in her life.
And remind us of what his name is.
Jaden.
Mm-hmm. And Jaden was obviously a very special person in your life. We touched on that before. How does Jaden meet Quijana in the book?
I want to say they're in the same English class, yes. And they let's see, they both, the teacher asked them to do an assignment or an exercise.
Girl, this is your book. If you don't know, I'm not going to tell you.
I haven't read this scene in a little while, but the teacher asked them something about finding a favorite song, and it's a poetry unit they're going to start, and they both happen to choose the same song, and so she sees this as kismet, as fate, as something revealing about him, like, ooh, that makes him interesting to her, and it doesn't hurt that he's kind of cute and he's good with a yo-yo.
He knows tricks, right?
he does tricks. He can do.
That detail about the yo-yo, how did that come about?
My son had a yo-yo phase, and I was amazed at how far he went with it, because I personally was a pretty big failure as a yo-yoist. So
it's interesting that you bring that up. Are these characters composites? Are they based on individual people? Are they amalgamations? I mean, how do you see the different characters in your book?
a lot of them do have one person as kind of the core, or the base, maybe the foundation, and then I needed to add things, and so I pulled from other people. So they are composites. The Jaden character is largely based on my real life best friend from 7th grade, but my real life friend was in band rather than theater. But I was in theater some of the time. So I pulled from theater kids. I knew to add some detail to Jaden. And there's even a performance in the book. He's in a play. And so I had to pull on my own experience for that. And not my real life friend, again, was in band. So it is kind of a collage project, each character. The mother is, I think, more based on myself. She's educated, she's getting a master's degree, and I did that while I had kids. I had 3 under 3 when I first started my master's degree, twins and a 2-year-old. So her experience of being a parent comes a lot from my own. My dad is definitely in the real dad. My real dad is in the fictional dad, but not. Again, it's not a copy, because things have to be really flavorful in a book, and so I added some things.
Did you break that guitar?
I did not in real life.
Did a guitar ever break?
No, I just knew symbolically that the guitar in this family was very central, and that this needed to happen, because the father wants Quijana to play, and not just her own style and her own songs, but he's insisting that she get in touch with her heritage by playing the songs that he plays, boleros or whatever. And she's
boleros are actually my favorite type of music. And you're talking about the dad. One of my favorite things that you wrote, and I'm not sure that a middle grader is going to be able to pick this up, but you write, Dad pulls back, looking genuinely shocked, but it's tan chula, a sweet little song. I don't care about sweet little songs. Quijanita, I hate the primary colors in his voice. Mm-hmm. I'm 12. Haven't you noticed? I don't want to play guitar in Guatemala. I don't even want to go. And the sentence that struck me the most there was, I hate the primary colors in his voice. I'm sorry, but I've been in front of middle grade students. That is lost on them. Mm. You had to have written that for yourself. Yes. And that's okay. I write stuff for myself too. Yes. Or for me. You wrote it for me, right? Or for the adults that are reading the book. Yes. But I mean, I know what you meant by that. I know what it meant to me. What did you mean when you wrote that?
I meant that her dad was treating her like a tiny child, like a preschooler, like Play-Doh playing person, instead of the mature 12-year-old that she is. Right.
And I do think, by the way, that even a middle grader, although they may not understand exactly what was meant, in the context, the feeling is certainly communicated. But see, going back to the discussion we were having in our previous conversation, that's the sort of lyricism in writing that made me stop everything that was going around me and go, oh, this is different. I can't, well, there's a novel that the review is coming out also during Hispanic Heritage that I'm not going to talk about right now, but that I could read and watch TV and do everything else at the same time, because I just kind of went, these characters are underdeveloped. It's not a bad novel. It's just not a great novel. So many levels here. The bus stop incident, where she comes up to the bus stop
with the incredibly impeccably dressed immigrant children, I could see those kids in my head because I have seen those kids in real life. And people who are not familiar with the situation may think, oh, she dressed them up because she wanted to. No, those kids are always impeccably dressed when they go to school. Did you ever experience that?
I did. My cousins were like that. Now, I didn't actually have kids show up at a bus stop as the book scene, but I knew that my cousins were not leaving the house without their hair combed and their shirts tucked in, and they had some pressure actually to go to school and do well, to achieve, to represent the family well, and to represent even Latinos well, you know.
Well, I understand exactly what you're saying, because we have a rule in this house. Victor's hair is long and curly, and it can take 30 minutes to get it done, but he's not leaving the house unless that hair is done. I mean, we'll put it up, right? We'll put it up in a ponytail, but he is not leaving the house unless the hair is done. And then we're horrified, and yes, sometimes judgmental when we see kids who are not dressed. It's like, and I do think that some of that is cultural insofar as you can unify a Latino culture, right? Because we are a very disparate people, but there are some things that we have in common. A unifying language to some degree, although sometimes I'll say I need a translation from Spanish to Spanish.
Yes.
Right. There are some words that we may, right? Idioms especially drive me insane, but that's another one. Yeah. Did you ever sell a huipil, a family heirloom?
I did not. I'm very well behaved, I'm afraid.
You were a good girl, weren't you?
I was very much, and am pretty wholesome. So the idea that Quijana would actually sell the huipil is kind of shocking to me, but I knew, being inside her head and inside her heart, that she cared more about belonging and fitting in with the dominant culture at that stage, and I needed to demonstrate that, and not, I can't write a sentence like that. She felt the need to fit into the dominant culture, so we need a symbol. So we need her to.
Well, but you raised the issue, and I think the issue is an important one to address. Why do you think so many parents do establish, we'll call it the norm, as the dominant culture? Because it is the dominant culture. Why do so many parents establish that in the home? I do not think that Quijana's environment is unique. I think there are many parents that do not speak to their children in Spanish growing up. I still think it happens today.
Yes, and sadly, because we know that being bilingual is such a rich experience for the brain, or multilingual. But yes, there's a wish that my child fit in, that my child be a, quote, real American, that my child succeed. Sacrifices were made so that this child could have these opportunities. And some of that means, I think mistakenly, some people think it means to erase then the original culture or the home culture.
Well, I don't think we need any help in erasing the original home culture, because everybody's erasing it for us in any event.
Yes.
So if you had any advice to give to parents that are raising bilingual, bicultural children now of any language, what advice would that be?
Teach them the language if you possibly can. When they're babies, when they're little, celebrate the food, celebrate the holidays, go back to the home country. Don't give them a choice. drag them back. Help them see that this is really a beautiful thing, an extra thing, to have more than one lens through which to see the world and appreciate things. Embrace it.
There are a couple more places that I'd like to read to you and get your reaction.
Okay.
Rubbing my plate hard with a sponge, I play a familiar game, thinking of names I would rather have. Emily, Haley, Madison, names that people know how to pronounce. names with only one dot. Quijana has two, like little eyes that watch for my mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You just your own writing, or was it my gorgeous delivery of that writing that you just I'm going to go with my own gorgeous delivery, because otherwise you'd be humping yourself. So, you know, I wanted to throw Susie in there as well. Yeah. But what was particularly striking to me about that was Quijana has two little eyes that watch for my mistakes. Where did you pull that from?
This is more from my own life. I think there's a certain scrutiny on, or maybe it's just my personality, that I felt watched in some way. I guess I'm an overachiever. I felt that I needed to make my parents proud of me. And then at school, I needed to get the A's. And for a long time, my identity was caught up in the achieving and succeeding in visible ways. And Quijana feels like her name is not helping her in this project of fitting in and being a good American and doing well. She's self-conscious, and she's thinking that her being different, like having a name like Quijana that the teacher can't pronounce on the first day of school, is singling her out in the wrong ways.
Well, and the time was before, right, when names that teachers couldn't pronounce, the children were simply renamed.
Yeah. Yes. And I have students in my college classes who say, call me Stan or something. And I'll say, well, would you really like me to call you that? Or is there...
I do the same thing when I get them in class. I'm like, no, you need to keep repeating it until I get it right, because I can't say it right because I'm not familiar with it. It's not that I can't say it. I can say it. I just need you to make me familiar with it.
Help. Yes.
If I learned how to say Renoir, I can say your name.
Right. And my school name in school was Becky, and it was Bequi, which for a Spanish speaker is obviously Becky. But my teachers had no idea what to say when, there would be this blank time of seconds when after Baker, Kenneth, there would be this long pause. And I knew it's my name. My first name is too hard. My last name is even harder. And so I would volunteer. So every class of my life was like that. And of course, actually, I came to embrace that and even enjoy that, teach them how to say it. But at first it was uncomfortable.
Well, with me, it's Mr. Hernandez. And I'll say, no, it's Fernandez with an F as in Frank. And then they'll keep repeating Mr. Hernandez. After I've said no with an F as in Frank.
Oh.
Or when they'll call me Mr. Garcia or Mr. Gonzalez.
Oh.
And I'll say, well, when I get that one, I'll say, listen, I know we all look the same, but we have different names. And this is the really white guy saying, listen, I know we all look the same, but we have different names. That usually gets their attention. Now, you named Quijana after a very specific person. Who and why?
Quijana is named after Don Quixote. Obviously, the great hero of Spanish literature, Cervantes.
Well, hero is a little...
Well, hero, yeah. People who know Cervantes, or even just the musical Man of La Mancha, know that he
one of the best written musicals of all time, actually.
Yes. Let's sing them all sometime.
You know what? I actually got to see that in Madrid in Spanish in one of the most beautiful productions I ever got to see.
Oh, how wonderful.
It was pretty spectacular. On New Year's Eve one year.
I saw the movie for the first time as maybe an 8-year-old. I mean, I was really young. And of course, I didn't understand so much of it. But I knew my father's excitement about it. And it became...
Well, The Night of the Woeful Countenance.
Yes, The Night of the Woeful Countenance. And the real character just is... he fails in everything he tries to do, but he keeps his idealism. And this kind of lost cause theme is something Quijana is embarrassed about. So I named her that because I wanted to force her to confront her heritage right there in her name. But also because she did not understand at the beginning of the book, especially, that to fight for a lost cause is still honorable. What if it's not to fight for the lost cause, then it's to give in, and that's not worth it. So if you live by your ideals and you still fail, Quixote would say that's fine. Quijana was all about success. Like, well, that is not fine. You know?
So what you're saying is that's the other half of happiness.
That's the other half. Yes. Yes.
It's amazing how that all turns around, right? I'm going to leave you with one last question. So Quijana is now 35 years old.
Okay.
And she reads her biography.
Okay.
What is she going to say to you about what you've written?
Wow. This is such a creative question. I hope she says...
No, there's no hoping. What did she say to you?
She said, I can't believe I broke that guitar. I now can sing 10 boleros.
I'm sorry, Professor, but you're equivocating. I'm looking for something a little deeper and more meaningful.
Okay. I think she would say, you got it right. I guess I hope so. That being a middle schooler really was that difficult. And now I'm so glad that I found that other half of happy. As an adult, I am integrated. I don't mean integrated into the dominant culture, but I mean self-integrated. I'm learning Spanish. I'm comfortable with my heritage. And I go to Guatemala every chance I get.
Is that where you are?
That is where I am. And that's how I've been able to answer this question at all. You
didn't realize this was going to be part of the therapy session, did you?
No, this is very good for me. But yes.
I'm available, but the problem is after this session, I'm going to have to bill you.
Well, this got me started. But yes, I am pleased about my heritage.
Right? Yes. If you're in Texas, I know a good doctor we can send you to down. Not a worry. We're a full service bookshelf.
Perfect.
Listen, Professor Balcárcel, it has been a true pleasure, and you are such a delight. Please do not lose touch. You have a book coming out in 21 or 22?
22, I do.
Do we have a title yet?
No.
You don't have to tell us. You don't have to tell us. But there is a book coming out, right?
There is.
And it's going to be by Chronicle. Chronicle's going to publish. Yeah. And do you have a little teaser for us?
Yes. So 11-year-old Luz, Luz, is...
I really didn't need the spelling for it, but that's okay.
I know you didn't. But
and Luz means light for those of us that are not...
Yes, it does. And that's important. But she was a soccer star, but she was injured. And now she is having to put together a new identity. And the computer guy across the street, an older man, like a grandfatherly figure, he's got a garage that looks like the basement of Google or Apple or something. And so she's getting fascinated about that. But there's also a surprise in her father's history that's going to erupt and disrupt Luz's life. So I'll leave it there.
Awesome. Listen, we wish you nothing but the best, and I expect you to come back and talk to me again when that book is out, okay?
I would love to do that.
Have a great day. And those of you that are still sticking with me, make sure that you hold on until the end, because I'm going to tell you how you can get another copy of Professor Balcárcel's book so that you can share the reading, because after all, that's what we're about here on Mr. Alex's Bookshelf. Stay tuned. Meet me back at the studio, everybody.
It's not very often that I come across an individual that I have an instant feeling of genuine appreciation for. And my interview with Professor Balcárcel was, I think, one of the highlights of my career thus far. Her warmth, her humor, and her trust just really shone through. It was a unique joy and pleasure to talk to her for an hour and have her tell us all about her book, The Other Half of Happy. I think we learned quite a few insights from her, not just about her book, but about life in general. It made me feel better to know her. It made me feel better to read her book. Those of you that have been watching know that, together with Chronicle Books, we're giving away a free copy. And you also know that you have to subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on notifications, and you also have to subscribe to Mr. Alex's Bookshelf. After all, the blog is the reason why we're here. We give you reviews on children's literature, everything from picture books to young adult novels. All you have to do is follow the link in the description box below. The rules are also down there for the contest. The contest closes on September 14th, 2020, the day right before Hispanic Heritage Month starts. So if you're seeing this interview after that day, I'm sorry, the contest has closed. We'll post a winner shortly thereafter. It's been great. I hope you enjoyed the next interviews we have coming up. And remember, at Mr. Alex's Bookshelf, we know that the word parent is not just a noun. It's also a verb. I'll see you next time.